Enchiladas have been one of my favorite foods since I was little, and it's one of the main reasons I've always loved Mexican cuisine. Tortillas stuffed with chicken, beef, or beans, slathered in enchilada sauce, and topped with cheese and baked. That's typically how most recipes are done in the US. However, since being in Mexico, the authentic enchiladas are a completely different experience, and that's what we are making today. Hey everyone, I've been in Mexico City for just about 3 weeks now, and I think it was time to tackle one of my favorite dishes, enchiladas. So for kind of traditional enchiladas made down in Mexico, I would say there are kind of three main differences compared to most recipes that we make at home in the US. And this isn't to say that one's better than the other, they're just quite different experiences, and they can both be really tasty in their own right. First main difference is that in Mexico, you're almost always going to make enchiladas out of corn tortillas. Now, most recipes in the States, and in the States in general, we tend to eat a lot more flour tortillas. And the corn tortillas have a different flavor. Obviously, they're made with corn, and actually I do prefer these, and this is what I buy in the States most of the time as well. The second main difference is the enchilada sauce. Now down in Mexico, you're going to see an enchilada sauce that is made with dried chilies. And really that's all there is to it. You're gonna make a chili puree from these dried chilies, maybe throw in a little bit of spices or like an onion or something, but that's it. There's no tomatoes or anything of that nature. Now, if you contrast that with in the US, I feel like a lot of times it's a tomato-based enchilada sauce. Again, nothing wrong with that, it's just a different approach. And then the third main difference is actually how they are prepared. So for most recipes in the US, they're typically, all rolled up and thrown in like a casserole dish and then baked with cheese on top. But in Mexico, that's really not how they do it at all. So first we're gonna make that enchilada sauce, and then what you do is you actually fry your tortillas in some oil and kind of get them just like firm and just starting to crisp. Then you dip them in the sauce on both sides, roll it up with whatever filling you have, and then you just serve it like that. It's kind of like a made-to-order enchilada as opposed to kind of like the casserole dish that I feel like a lot of recipes you see in the States. So now that you have all those differences to consider, I think it's time to do a little ingredient breakdown of how we're gonna make this dish, and it actually comes together fairly quick. So the first thing we gotta talk about is our filling. So I just have some chicken breast right here, and basically we're gonna set a pot of water on to boil, and we're just gonna add some aromatics. I've got 2 bay leaves, I've got some epazote leaves, which if you don't know what these are, go check out my refried black beans video and you'll learn all about it. And then lastly, we're just gonna throw in some onion and some salt. And this is a really typical filling that you'll see down in Mexico. Actually, just last night I had enchiladas verdes con pollo, and that's exactly what it is. You literally make your filling ahead of time, and then once you're ready to actually make your enchiladas, you just pull it out, throw it in, roll it up, serve it, and you're good to go. But this is a great basic recipe that you could really use for anything. I mean, you could use this chicken in tacos, enchiladas, throw it on chilaquiles, or make a sandwich or something. Like it's super versatile. So let's quickly make this chicken, let it rest, shred it up, and then we'll talk about the chili puree and making the enchiladas. Chicken on the burner just cooking away. Now we can make that chili puree. Anyway, I've made chili purees on the channel plenty of times before, and the basic process is you need to rehydrate your chilies, then you blend them with water, and then you use it however you're gonna use it. So today I have ancho chilies, and I also have some chipotle chilies that I have left over. So I've got 2 regular chipotles, 1 chipotle meco, which is smoked a little bit longer and has a different flavor profile. And then I have 3 ancho chilies, which are sun-dried poblanos. And I'm not sure what would be most typical in a red sauce for enchiladas. I would assume it would be anchos and maybe guajillo or pasilla, but feel free to use whatever kind of chilies that you like to use. For me, I love the smokiness that chipotles provide, so that's why I'm gonna include them. So all I'm gonna do is clean these up and then soak them in water. And then after I have them soaked in water and they're kind of pliable, we're gonna throw them into the blender with some garlic, some onion, and some water, and just a little bit of salt, and that's it. It's as simple as that, and that's gonna be our enchilada sauce for these enchiladas. So all the chilies are nice and hydrated. It's as simple as throwing them in the blender. Then I'm gonna, ooh, that was close. Then I'm gonna add in the garlic and the onion and toss that in. And then to control the consistency, we're gonna be adding in the water from our chilies. And then you kind of want it fairly runny so it cooks out and kind of slathers in, and it's gonna work really well when it soaks into those tortillas. So we're just gonna toss our chilies in here. Gonna add our 2 garlic cloves and that whole piece of onion, and then let's blend this thing up. So we have our chili puree, but it's very bland right now because we haven't added any salt, but that's okay. Because what we're gonna do is fry this up in some oil, and that's gonna kind of help everything like caramelize a little bit. And then I'm gonna add in some salt at the end to give it that nice taste and bring out all those flavors of the chili peppers. I will say though, this is a pretty spicy enchilada sauce, definitely from those chipotles, adding in a little bit of little extra oomph. I actually touched my eye up here, I don't know, burning right now. So I gotta be more careful around the chilies. But let me quickly fry up this sauce, and I also have to shred the chicken, and then I'll meet you guys and show how I'm gonna set up to make this the most efficient way to actually prepare these. Chicken nice and shredded. I've got the chili puree on the back burner, and I've also got the oil. So basically, I'll show you guys what the process is gonna be like. Step number 1 is get your tortilla. I'm gonna warm these up just in the microwave to get them a little more pliable real quick. But basically it goes oil, then you fry it on both sides like shallow fry. You don't need much oil, just to kind of get it nice and crispy and puffy. And then immediately goes into the sauce, and then sauce both sides, then immediately put it on your plate that you're gonna serve it on, and then I'm gonna throw in the chicken, wrap it up, just fold it over, and then we'll do that I'll probably make like 3 for a plate, and then we're just gonna top it off with like pickled onions and crema, basically whatever you wanna add, but super delicious, super simple. Basically, like I was saying, it's like made to order enchiladas. It's pretty sick, but let's make it. To say that I'm excited to eat these would definitely be an understatement. Pretty happy with how they turned out. One thing I definitely gotta get better at is judging the crispness of the tortillas. I could kind of just fold them over a little bit and they kind of broke a little bit. Could be because they're like a couple day old tortillas now too, but let's give this a taste test. I don't know if you guys heard it, but that little bit of crunch, that is what that different experience is. So good. And then that chili puree for enchilada sauce, so simple, but so good. Making sure we added enough salt to bring out all those flavors, makes it a little bit more savory and ooh. And then I love that basic chicken recipe, like useful for a million different recipes. And if you wanted to use any other type of filling, you could do so. Cheese enchiladas are pretty popular down here. Beef enchiladas would be like shredded beef. I'll see bean from time to time. Whatever you choose, I mean, you're gonna have something delicious. Also then for toppings, you'll almost always see fresh crema and then cotija cheese. I didn't have any cotija cheese, but I do have the crema. And then I added some of the pickled onions, habaneros, and cilantro that I made from my poblanos con queso video. Definitely check that out if you guys haven't. And like I said, it's really not that hard. Honestly, like if you make the chili sauce ahead of time, you make the chicken ahead of time, it's as simple as just frying your tortillas, throwing them in sauce and rolling it up. Like it's easy as that. You don't have to wait for the oven to, preheat and bake them. And I feel like this is a great method for, like one person, two people, maybe up to four, where like you don't want to necessarily make like this huge like casserole dish worth of enchiladas. Maybe you like have the components ready and you're like, hey, I'm gonna make some enchiladas. You whip all your stuff out and you're ready to go. But overall, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned a little something about enchiladas and the differences between, how it's really done in Mexico versus in the States. Like I said earlier, make it however you enjoy it. Like that's all cooking is at the end of the day. But that's gonna wrap it up for me. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.